Hi everyone, I'm really happy to be speaking at HalfStack today, and I'm going to speak about an interesting topic about how browser APIs can improve accessibility. Let me introduce myself quickly. My name is Natalia. I'm Vue.js core team member. I care mostly about Vue documentation. I work as a staff front-end engineer at GitLab, and I'm a Google developer expert in web technologies. And the most surprising thing about this talk is that I'm not going to speak about Vue.js, neither about GitLab, and I will touch a Google technology, but really briefly, because we will be speaking about Chrome APIs. So let's start with a statement you probably know good, which is picture is worth 1,000 words. As a person who writes documentation, I know this really good. There is a topic on Vue docs that was blamed as not understandable, cryptic, maybe not really clear, and could be done better in general. And you know what we have done in the latest version of Vue documentation? We added diagrams. So I was saying that I'm not going to speak about Vue. So this is the only page that touched Vue. Let's assume this one is sponsored by Vue. And it was a page about slots. And since we added diagrams, it's considered to be a really nice guide. However, there is a problem with images. If we look at them, we can see that sometimes they are not really accessible. And here is an example I decided to take from my own Twitter feed. So this is a post where we can see an image of a lady. Like clearly we can see the face here and two more pictures we are not focusing at right now. Literally the next tweet, there was a picture with the text. And the whole meaning of this picture, of course, is in this text. In both cases, if you try to go to the browser console and inspect this image, you guess you will have what? You will have this. So we will have an image with an alt attribute saying image, which is kind of expected because this is an image tag. This alt doesn't provide any additional information about what image is. And we can say, yes, of course, this would be really problematic because you used a social network as an example, and images there are uploaded by users. So maybe we could enforce social network users to add any kind of information about image, but nobody will do this. Even uploading an image there is an effort, and people won't add additional information about this image because they are not interested in this. This way, we have a feed of images that are absolutely meaningless for anyone who has issues with vision. Because with a screen reader, they will be told this is an image. I'm not going to praise Facebook, but they made an effort. They used their own tools to make images more accessible. In fact, they are not adding alt attribute to the image, but they use a link wrapped in an image and they add some information to area label there. But in general, images are not as accessible as we want them to be. We can do better. And there is a tool that is not an external tool. This is not an NPM module. This is not an additional library. This is a tool accessible right in the browser that could help us with making images more accessible and more informative. It's called Shape Detection API. So far, it's still been an experimental one. It has 3 different features. It's barcode detection, face and text detections. And barcode detection is available by default in Chrome 83. While the other two are still available behind the feature flag, so they consider heavy experimental, and their browser support is different depending on your operating system. So you can see that for platform, we have face recognition available on macOS as well as text, and on Win 10, where barcode is not available on Win 10. However, you will see that even when it's available, it still has some issues when working on macOS. And of course, you may say that this talk is about very buggy thing, about unstable and experimental, but I strongly believe in iteration. Maybe we can't cover all the cases for all the browsers, but we can try to make things better, even for one browser on a certain platform, and it will be already better than if we do nothing, saying this API is unstable. We can always check if detectors are available on this platform and use them, or just fall back to the default alt attribute, which is an image. I mean, we can't do it worse, right? So let's try to play around this API to see how it works and what we can do with this. And yes, as usual, when I'm doing live coding, I have no idea what I'm doing, so bear with me. So here is a code pen with an image. And I love this example because it's meme. And memes are, in my opinion, the most contextual thing. They contain faces, they contain texts, and usually they have absolutely zero accessibility as well. Let's play around this one. Let's try to see what we can detect here with images, with faces, with text, and so on. So as you can see, I have a button here with ID detect, and I have an image, and this is a very important moment. For detectors, this is important to add cross-origin anonymous, otherwise your browser will throw an error about course issues. And I'm just using this meme. So, oh, and I forgot one more thing. So this is already done for me, but if you're just going to experiment about this, you would need to enable experimental JavaScript on your Chrome flags as well as experimental web platform features. These are two feature flags that are required for face and text detectors. So for me, they're already enabled. So let's try to create a face detector. So face detector is new face detector. This one is available globally in Chrome. So what we're going to do, we will be trying to call, first of all, let's check what face detector is. And here is my favorite thing, which is a console log. So let's click detect. And we see that face detector is an object that has a function detect with some native code. So what we're going to do is to detect this image. So face detector detect image. The thing you need to know about face detector and text detector, they are asynchronous. So after detecting an image, we would need to resolve this one. So we are using then. And here, let's check if there are any faces. And if we have them, let's console log faces. And let's run it. Click Detect. Surprisingly, it says there are no faces. I was trying this for like 10 times, and every single time macOS said there are no faces. I tried this on PC, it worked. macOS, no faces. And I was going to say, probably face detection is not working this well on macOS. But before giving up, I tried to search on Stack Overflow. This helped. So apparently for macOS, for some reason, we need to pass fast mode true. And this is really interesting because fast mode option for face detector is designed to sacrifice quality of the recognition for speed. So face detector works faster, it uses less resources, but it's less precise. I don't know why for Retina display or macOS or whatever else you need to use fast mode, but it changes things. So let me just save it and rerun it and detect it one more time. And apparently with fast mode, macOS says, okay, you have a face here. So you can see that we have a bounding box, which is a box that would box this face. And we have landmarks. And if you wonder what landmarks is, this is an object. It shows us the location of left eye, right eye, and mouth. So let's try to experiment a bit more. Let's go to Unsplash and search for people. So we can find maybe more people than we have here, and like maybe more faces like this one. Like there are 3 people. I assume that at least one of them is not going to be recognized because we are using fast mode. But let's copy image address and make this check. Okay, let's save it. Let's rerun it. I don't know why CodePen is being so slow during the live coding. It's a huge one. And let's click Detect. Apparently only one face is recognized here. Let me just refresh it just in case. Detect. Yes, it recognizes only one face. One more time. Let's find something with more people maybe. Like this. How many faces are here? Let's save it, refresh it, detect it. So in this case, it correctly recognizes 2 faces, which is good enough because it's like clearly 2 faces on this one. Okay, now let's go back to our meme and work with this one. So now we have a list of faces. Let's try to work a bit on our alt attribute. For now, it's just no. So I will say that I have alt attribute because maybe it contains something. Maybe it has alt of image. Let's be Twitter here. So here we are going to use image get attribute alt. And just to make sure I'm correct, let's do a console log again. Nope. Yeah, it's image. Now I want to say how many people can we see on this image. So in then hook, I'm going to say, I want to set attribute, and this is alt attribute, and its new value is going to be, first of all, I want to keep alt attribute because maybe there was something important there. And then it will be this image contains faces length faces. And I remove console log from here. So let's run our snippet. Let's click detect, and then let's inspect it. So you can see why it's undefined. Oh, because of the typo. So let's run it. Detect. Now let's inspect the image. This image contains one faces. This is already much better than just image. But let's also work around the text, because I also want to use text detector to see if there is anything that is written here. And for this, let's go with text detector. So text detector is new text detector, and there is no additional parameter here. And I will be working inside of face detector then hook. So I don't want to change my alt attribute and to create a race condition here. So I will be working inside of this one. Here I'm going to say, and text, this will be text detector detect image. Then again, this is a synchronous operation, texts. I will also move this one to face detector as well. So I want to do console log text. Let's try to run it. And there are two texts, which is already good. There is a bounding box that shows us the bounding box around the text. There are column points, but unfortunately, row value here is empty. And this is the point that interested us the most, because this should have been a recognized text. And if you're going to say me, just pass fast mode through to text detector, no, this is not going to work. Text detector is not accepting this parameter. I tried. It didn't help. And unfortunately, for macOS, I tried to find a workaround, but it wasn't possible. So I made a trick. I created a recording on my PC with the same code. So you would need to watch a video on the video. It's like very meta video. So here is the same code on my PC. And you can see that on PC, I have texts. I have raw values. It's not completely correct. For some reason, it added a $sign for the first one, but it still works. And here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create messages. I'm going to join all the texts I have. And then I want to add this to my alt tag of the video. So I'm taking all the raw values and joining them with a white space. And of course, I can't resist to do one more console log here, just to show what's there in the messages. So we're running, detecting, and we have a text on this meme. Now I move the setting attribute to the text detector. And in addition to what I have from the face detector, I also want to add a text like this image contains text. And then I want to show what exact text is there. Okay, saving, running, detecting. And sorry for my Russian on the inspector. On PC, it's still not English. And you can see that we show more information in alt tag. This image contains text. So with two native browser APIs, we made this image not perfectly understandable for the screen reader, but definitely way more accessible than it was. And I believe this is a really good case where browser APIs can help us all for doing a good thing. I hope it was interesting to listen to. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natalia. That was such a good talk. And I had no idea that this existed at all. So I'm so excited to actually play with this. How did you find out about it, and why, and sort of what drove you to want to do better image captioning?
So I found out actually accidentally, because there are three kinds of recognition API, which is actually face detection, which is text detection, it's barcode detection. That is what was not covered in this talk. And I started getting familiar with from barcode detection because we were trying to find out some interesting solutions for barcodes. And I was like, okay, oh, there is also text detection and face as well. So this was the moment where we're getting familiar. We didn't use barcode as well because it's still experimental, but that's how we found out.
What were you going to do with the barcodes? Am I allowed to ask?
Oh, it's actually interesting because you don't need any additional software to scan them. And you can strictly go with a link, for example, if you're encoding a link with a barcode, and QR code as well, because it's also included in the barcode detector. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely faster than any external solution. So we were just looking into this, but unfortunately, browser support is still questionable for the API.
I have some friends that are pretty creative, and they fly a lot. And so a lot of them like to share like pictures of their boarding passes. And then my other friends like to take those barcodes and like do interesting things like change their seat assignment on them or other fun things. So just a constant reminder that anytime there's a barcode, you can do almost anything you want with that information.
That's true.
Barcodes are pretty complicated to work with if memory serves. From a past project, it's more than just a few lines that you need to recognize if memory serves. Yeah. So would you say that this is, browser compatibility aside, is this ready for production for use in the case that you've used it here?
Well, even Google says that don't use this in production. It's experimental and behind the feature flag. So it's kind of clear. So it's not prod ready. But I like to experiment with such things because prod ready is very temporary, right? Today it's not. in a year, everyone is using this and you're already late with this API. So I think it's a good thing because it costs you nothing. It's not an additional third-party tool, and I can see like maybe in a few years when it's in the browser API for like more or less all browsers and platforms, it will be good.
Seems easier than some of the libraries out there for doing face detection. So it's a nice introduction to the system, isn't it?
And do you know what tech it's actually using in the background?
No, honestly, I was trying to read through Google specs, and don't do this. It's just when you try to understand what's going on there, like, okay, at some moment you just give up and say, nice, I will just wait until documentation is ready, because even API is not documented. It was really funny because I was trying with this fast mode for face recognition. It's not documented. The documentation was like someone answering on Stack Overflow, and like, how did you know this? I am from Google. So it was funny.
Wow. So have you got any plans for Halloween? Have you got pumpkins carved tonight, spiders coming out of the cupboards, or?
I need to share a really sad thing about Halloween in Ukraine. It's not existing.
Oh,
So like we don't celebrate Halloween in general. I mean, if you look at schools, for example, they have some nice costumes and parties, but this is not general. So here, like, Halloween is not a thing. So, unfortunately.
That's really unfortunate, because that means my country and Hallmark are not doing their job exporting all the important things that get you to spend all your money at the same time as everyone else. Like, you must have Valentine's Day, right? And spend like 10 times as much on flowers on that day of the year.
We kind of do, but the thing is that Valentine's Day, I think, got popular maybe last 5 to 10 years.
Wow.
And Halloween is still like on the way. It's more and more popular every single year.
Yeah, I generally say that the US, beyond tech, the US generally exports bad food, bad movies, and like fake holidays is kind of my joke. But Halloween is actually probably my favorite holiday, because it's like the one day a year in the US where you walk around, you actually talk to neighbors and strangers, and you knock on people's doors and they don't want to shoot you. So it's great. Like, and you're wearing a mask and they like open the door and like give you stuff instead of being afraid. So it's really nice.
Chris has put into the comments that it's actually Ireland that's been exporting Halloween, not America.
That is true, but Americans take credit for everything that's good in the world, so I have to like play up that stereotype. But besides the Irish Halloween is actually scary, and the American one is like smiling pumpkins, and like, you know, it's kind of not the same, right? So, so I ask everyone this, like, how has like this, however many months we've kind of been in isolation been for you? What's different? What's been nice? Like, how is that going for you?
So we've been in isolation since March, but we had a break in summer. It was like more or less better. I even had a chance to fly somewhere. I was privileged.
Wow.
Yeah, actually I was flying to Turkey and back, so this is good. And what was different is, like, I like to joke about this. Google is making fun of me because it reminds you of where you have been last month, where you have been last year. And in 2018, it was like, oh, you know that you went across a globe like 10 times. Yeah. This year is like you went across your city area maybe 2 times. Great job.
Yeah.
Like, oh, God.
I went to Tokyo in February to speak at a conference, and I took my 6-year-old son with me. And then on our way, the conference got canceled. And so it was like the start of COVID over there was like, so we got used to wearing masks. And I will say my son thought it was so cool that everyone wore a mask in Tokyo that he is like the best mask wearing 6-year-old out there. Not that it's a contest, but like he just like gets in people's like 6 feet away, like yells at them if they're not wearing a mask. It's just like really hilarious.
Oh, bless.
For me, the start of lockdown was kind of creepy because I was speaking at a conference in the United States, and then when I was flying there, I lost my voice. Not because I was COVID infected, I was just cold. but voice was lost completely. My talk was mostly like typing and doing interpretive dance for this typing. Because what can you do? And can you imagine how people were looking at me on stage? Like, you came here.
Do you have COVID? Like, what's going on with you? Yeah.
It was March. It was beginning of March. I think it was my last flight before the lockdown.
Yeah.
It was really tricky.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw in, I'm disappointed you've dropped in that you have interpretive dance skills when we've only got 20 seconds left. Maybe next time we'll get to experience some of that.
No way, because I'm not that visible. I'm not standing. I'm not on stage. So you need to just be satisfied with me speaking.
Yeah.
Which we are.
Very much so. Yeah, we have another minute or two, I guess, before we go into the next session. I think people are always really impressed that like HalfStack runs like by the minute or second, but they've not seen this crazy spreadsheet I have with like time zones and like fractional seconds for each session. And then what'll happen is someone will send their video and it's like 40 seconds shorter than they said. And I'm like, oh no, I gotta like rewrite the whole schedule today. It's pretty funny.
He really does have us timed by the second.
It's like,
I think the next section's seconds, is it?
Yeah, it's like the only part of my German heritage I really feature is like the timeliness. Like, for the first time we did HalfStack in person, people were like, "There's no way this conference is going to run on schedule. There's no way. And I'm like, "Oh, it'll be on schedule," because like we got to make time for all the fun stuff at the end, so we can't just like have the talks run an hour late. That just wouldn't work for me. So it's pretty funny. So
speaking of fun stuff, have you got any other APIs that you're going to be playing with for future reference or no?
Oh, maybe speech and speech recognition API as well, because it's really fun.
I hear that's good for rapping.
I hear it is too. Tony gives the best like live speech recognition rap session ever. You can catch it on, actually there's a couple versions of it recorded at previous HalfStack events. So it's awesome. Yep. Cool. Well, thanks, Natalia. It was an amazing session, and thanks everyone for chatting. I'm going to go ahead and kick off the next session. Cheers. Bye.